Hi, this is the Magnificent Midlife podcast, and I'm Rachel Lancaster. This is where we celebrate women in midlife and beyond. We challenge the status quo and bash those negative stereotypes about being an older woman. We're not over the hill at 40, 50, 60. We're just getting started, and the world needs us now more than ever. I'll be talking all things midlife, about issues that matter, and sharing fabulous stories of amazing women doing very cool stuff. Now is our time. Welcome back to the summer season, where I am digging into the archives to bring you some of the gems in the Magnificent Midlife podcast vault. Today I'm talking to Louise Carr, who is a holistic nutrition consultant. And it always amazes me how little we actually know about how food can impact our health. This is an absolutely fascinating story about Louise's own journey back to health by changing her own nutrition and what she has learned to help others, especially through the hormonal ups and downs of the menopause transition. Please enjoy my conversation with Louise Carr. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Rachel. It's a thrill to be here.
I would love to know, to start off, how did you come to be doing what you do now?
Well, I am a certified holistic nutrition consultant here in Canada, and I got into this line of work by retraining at the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. And the reason that I did that was purely to deal with my own health issues. I was 46 at the time. I was completely exhausted, spent most of my life on the sofa. I had loved Zumba, and I couldn't drag myself to Zumba classes anymore. When I did get to Zumba, it took me like a day and a half to recover. I was overweight. I had varicose veins. I could barely walk my dog, and really the joy had been sucked out of life for me. Good things that happened for us and our family, I would look at them, say we were going away for the weekend, I'd be like, oh my God, how am I ever gonna get everything together for us all to go? And I was overwhelmed all of the time and depressed because I couldn't see the joy in any of the nice parts of life anymore. So I had been to see my doctor. I went to see a couple of different doctors and explained how I was feeling. I was very achy all of the time, and I received the message: there's nothing wrong with you. Your blood tests are perfectly normal. This is the way you're expected to feel at your age. You need to eat less. And so I was doing this restriction and denial thing where I was trying to cut back on what I was eating, losing even more energy. And so at the very last minute, I enrolled in nutrition school. It was the end of the summer. It was 1 week before the course started. On the Thursday, I called them on the Monday. On the Thursday, I had an interview, and the following Monday, I was sat in the classroom. And then that experience for me was because I intrinsically knew I could do something about this. I intrinsically knew that it was wrong, that I shouldn't be feeling like that at 46. And I was actually affronted. Are you telling me I'm aging from this horrible place? And I knew I wanted to get to like 86 and 96. I'm like, what am I going to feel like then if at 46 I feel like this? And I didn't know how things were going to get better for me. And I really didn't want more of the same. So I decided to take a different route and get as much information as I could about my own body. And I spent the year just in aha moments like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this wrong for years. Oh, I never knew that. And totally had to turn around my thinking. So I identified for myself in the classroom that my adrenals needed support, that my thyroid needed support. Obviously, my cardiovascular system, I knew before I started the class if I had varicose veins, everything is joined up, and so my heart would not be in the best condition that it could be in. But with the adrenal glands, when I sat in the classroom and heard that to support your adrenal glands, they need fat and salt and vitamin C, and I was avoiding fat, two of those things I never ate, I knew I wasn't giving my body what it needed. I'd also never given myself permission to stop. I had 3 kids in 3 years, and realized now I've been pretty depleted after that extensive work that the body has to do. And but when they napped, that was my catching up time. I was a go girl, and I never gave myself permission to have any downtime. I've been a pretty hard taskmaster for myself all of my life. And I had that realization in the classroom also, that it was all about food and nutrition, but also bigger than food and nutrition. It's the way that I treat myself, the way that I value myself, the way that I choose to take care of myself and create some boundaries around what I need to be healthy. And the mind-body connection also, how my body was actually telling me what the problems were, and I had not been listening. So it was a huge year for me, a huge year. And I was probably the oldest in the classroom. There were a couple of other women with kids the same age as mine. So I also met an entirely different group of people that I would never have met before. And I really valued that experience too.
So that, listeners, is why Louise is on this podcast, because she knows how to A, reinvent herself, B, listen to her gut and what her heart is telling her, and then go and do it, and then learn all this stuff so that we can all apply it. Because I just think it's amazing, that experience, and how you have learnt so much, and you've transformed your life, haven't you, because of that knowledge?
That was absolutely, it was like, you know, when you lay dominoes in a line, it was the first domino to go over for a lot of changes in my life. I started valuing my health above everything else. Once my health started to return, I started to eat the foods that would support my adrenal health and my thyroid health. I let myself sleep when I wanted to. I started eating to support my cardiovascular health. So I was fired from the vein clinic. Here in Calgary, we get free 6-monthly ultrasound checkups. And I was going religiously. I'd had one vein on my right leg removed, went back to get the left leg done. Apparently I'm a vein grower. So I had another vein on my right leg removed. So I had to go back again and then have the left. And then I was on my ultrasound. And in the end, they said to me, have you considered not coming? Because to be honest, you're wasting our time. And this must be a waste of your time also, coming every 6 months and being told that everything is fine. And I realized I'd had a win there, that the body wants to feel good, that the body wants to be healthy, and it's in its best condition, and you have to give it what it needs. So then I became relentless about, what else can I do? What else can I do? And I started examining my stress levels. I couldn't understand why I was so stressed all of the time. My heart rate was high all of the time. And I was given a Fitbit, and noticed that when my husband was away on work, for work, I could sleep and my heart rate dropped. And when he was in the house with us, I had a heart rate of 87 beats a minute all of the time. And my sleep went down to about 4 hours a night. And so I started scanning my environment, why is this? And came to the conclusion, oh, it's you. It's you. You're bringing a lot of stress into my life. I couldn't imagine leaving and being on my own. At that point in time, it took other factors coming in for me to even be able to imagine that I could be self-sufficient in a business, that I could be happy on my own, that I wouldn't be lonely. I had a lot of shame around walking out of my marriage that I had to process, and a phenomenal amount of grief. But I did, in fact, end up leaving in 2017. So it took me 3 years. I did 2014, I did my nutrition course. And already indicators were coming, like the younger girls in the class said, oh, well, I'll email you, we'll get together, we'll have a potluck. And even as nutritionists, we used to go out for margaritas and things like that too. So, oh, I'll email you, what's your email? And I give my email address, and they're like, don't you have your own email? You're a grown woman, don't you have your own email? I'm like, no, I've never had my own email. I got my own email. They helped me, and I got my own email. And my husband was livid, absolutely livid, disproportionate response, I felt. And so my eyes started opening to the situation that I was in within my marriage. So.
Wow. So it was, the course was a real catalyst for so many other things changing for you.
Yeah. And I went into the course to support my own health and was amazed at the power of food and nutrition. Like I didn't go in as, I don't know, I don't want to denigrate anyone, but like a hippie woo-woo believer that I could heal the world. None of that. I went in just at the last minute, desperately trying to find the thing that would empower me to take action and do something. And I was astounded that by eating differently, I could have such an impact on my own health. Then I get into, where is the stress? How I was also astounded by the incredibly damaging effect that stress has on our bodies. Phenomenal. It's phenomenal, and something I've experienced personally. My health is so improved, again, from leaving my marriage. So I took a huge leap being in nutrition school when I left the stress that was in my life, a huge leap. So I went in to help my own health. I came out suddenly realizing I can help other people, and I can make money, and I can have a business. And then it became apparent as I started to try and grow, the restriction that was being placed on me to stay in the box, in the home. The things that were being said to me, I don't understand the real world. I can't handle money, so I can't have a business. I'm dirty. I don't do a good enough job of the house. All of these messages started coming at me as soon as I started to try and grow and change my life and expand my life experience. And I realized I needed to get out.
I had something similar. I don't think it was by any means the level of yours. But for years I suffered with irritable bowel syndrome. And I'd had dysentery years ago, and I was told that it was a sort of holdover from dysentery.
Right.
But funnily enough, when I left my first husband, my irritable bowel syndrome cleared up. And yes, I did change my diet. I ate a lot less rice. But when I eat rice now, it doesn't have the same effect on me as I thought it did then.
Yeah.
And yeah, my IBS cleared up.
So I'm not sure if you're aware, Rachel, but irritable bowel syndrome is a tell for trauma and for deep unhappiness in your life.
I didn't know
and
that.
New research coming out about looking into the polyvagal nerve. What we're learning is that we always thought that our brains controlled our bodies, but in reality, it's very much more of a two-way street. And messages are being sent continually via the polyvagal nerve up to the brain to let us know how we're feeling. So messages will come from the microbiome inside our digestive tract, but also from the bowel, the nerves within the bowel. And the irritable bowel syndrome is your body trying to let your head know that there's a problem.
I think this is the key thing, and you and I agree with this on this, don't we, in terms of menopause symptoms. And I talk about them being the canary in the coal mine, and that we really need to listen to our bodies. And we're so used to just, charging around, as you were, you were very stressed, you were charging around, doing everything, being on all the time. I was too. And then I got early menopause, and I'm convinced it was related. But we've got to learn to slow down and listen, haven't we? I think it's really key.
Yes, I think this time of life is a real opportunity for us to go inward, to listen to our bodies, to offer our bodies a real love and support. And when I say support, I do mean food and nutrition as a starting place. It's important that we drop the patterns that we've had all of these years, many of us women, of restriction and denial, because we're just depleting ourselves at a time when we should be really nourishing ourselves, really listening to ourselves, and really loving on ourselves in a meaningful way. Whether that's offering ourselves more sleep, eating more nutrient-dense food so that our bones are stronger, so that we extend our active years, so that we maintain our cognitive function as we age, so that we maintain our mobility as we age, so that our joints don't ache. Now's the time that we need to be doing that work. And that may also mean resolving relationship issues, feuds and issues that we've had over the years, that we can go back with our mature minds and communicate in a different way and resolve some of those issues. Huge, important time of life for doing all of this work. And the more we are open to this fact, the more that we're open to the work that this is the perfect time of life to do, the easier will be our experience of perimenopause. If we are fighting all of this, pushing it down, then we are going to feel stressed, which drives our desire for sugar. We're more likely to lean on alcohol. Our blood sugar levels are more likely to be all over the place. We're more likely to have inflammation in our body. We're more likely to have hot flashes. We're more likely to feel depressed. The more that we fight it, the harder will be our perimenopausal experience. The more that we value ourselves and see ourselves as wound healers for ourselves and for other people in our community, the easier the transition will be.
Well, I completely agree with you on that. We've had many discussions, haven't we? And I just absolutely, as you say, the more we fight it, the worse it is.
That's right. And I think
go with the flow.
there's another switch that needs to go on in our heads. We need to step out of victim mindset. And I'm going to hold my hand up. I was a victim for all of my life, and I didn't even know. I wasn't even aware of the level it took for me to step out of my marriage, to connect with a lawyer and a psychologist, for me to have them explain to me fully what had happened to me, and to have them explain the extent of the abuse and the smallness of my life because of my relationship and how I had been controlled. And so I was a victim for all of my life. And I am absolutely determined at this age, at 52, to step out of the victim mindset. And the first instance I did that was not taking on board that I should be feeling the way I did at 46. I heard that information from a medical doctor, and I thought, no, I'm not having it. I am not having it. I am choosing not to believe you, and I am choosing to take a different path and my own action. And as soon as I did that, all the other areas of my life where I was believing what other people said about me came to light. So I think it's hugely important also to start carving out your desires, your opinions, and what's right for you at this age too, and step out of the victim mindset.
Because you can just get stuck. You can just go, okay, well, this is life, isn't it? And this is what
Yeah.
it is.
You don't even see it. I didn't see
and as
it.
the doctor saying to you, this is what you should expect to be feeling at this age. I mean, that's outrageous. That really is outrageous.
Oh, it is. And Rachel, I heard one from a client the other day who had went to see her doctor with frequent urination, very common during perimenopause. And a young female doctor said to her, "You are just going to have to practice not peeing so much." This is a 54-year-old woman who has lived all of her life peeing when she chooses, being told that she has to practice.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Whereas
dear.
I know from one of my other interviewees on this podcast that 80% of women can be cured of stress incontinence.
Absolutely. Yes.
With 6 visits to a pelvic health physio. Because when they know what to do, then they can be cured. And even women in nursing homes can be helped with incontinence when they're told what to do. But this is coming back to what your official title is now, and that crucial word, holistic, isn't it?
Yes.
Because Western medicine does not look at us holistically, does not look at the whole being, does it?
Yes, absolutely. I get some criticism online for calling myself holistic, but I feel very strongly that the body is all joined together. When we have issues in midlife, we can be referred to an endocrinologist or a gynecologist or a psychiatrist, but none of it is looked at as a whole at all. And I know my experience after I left my marriage, I crashed very suddenly into complex PTSD, and I then had to start dealing with that and the symptoms of having PTSD, which was crazy to me at the time and still is. But and so I went to see my doctor at that point also, and was referred to a neurologist. And they offered to take a scan of my brain to show the areas where it was illuminating in the fear centers. I had an idea from reading what my brain would look like. It looks very different from a normal brain and is fully lit up in the reptile parts of the brain and where your fears are. And your short-term memory is gone. So I'm like, oh, okay, yes, if we do that, what happens then? What do I have to do to come back and have another scan and see the difference? And they said, oh, no, we just take a scan. We haven't really got any advice for what you do after that. And I'm like, well, then do I come back and see if it's improved? And they like, no, we just have the scan to show that you have this. So I chose not to go into the machine. I had seen scans in books. I was actually really grateful when Ariana Grande showed an image of her brain. She has PTSD after the bombing at the Manchester concert, and she is moving forward with that. And she actually published an image of her brain. I've seen plenty of images of these brains. I'm like, I think it would be personally depressing for me to look at my brain and then not have a plan and not have a review. I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. I'm going to go back to doing the things I'm doing on a daily basis to regain my mental capacity that I've lost from this.
And then
So
you will know. You won't need a
yes,
scan. You'll know, won't you?
I'll know. And yes, I do know. I do. It almost kicks in. The recovery was crazy, and then it almost kicked in. Certainly around purpose and taking action. I thought I would never. I used to be very motivated. I thought that would never come back. I knew I had to be kind to myself and patient and wait and keep doing the things I was doing every day, monitoring myself and going to my talk therapy and then doing all the mind. I did a lot of body brushing to get myself back into my body. I did a lot of foam rolling. I've had a lot of massage, because when you're in your fear center, you're entirely in your head all of the time. And you have to be in the present moment and back inside your body. So I was using every method I could to become more mindful and back in my body and in the present moment. And I literally woke up one morning and I'm like, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want my life to look like this. And I'm like, wow, I just got dopamine. It's back. It was an awesome moment. But yeah, you do know.
But I think it's fascinating as well that you talked about the PTSD affecting your short-term memory. And that is something that is often attributed to menopause.
That's right.
And brain fog and not being able to remember things. Well, how interesting that if we're going to look at ourselves holistically, that maybe it's not menopause, or maybe, as I think, menopause is exacerbating something that's already there for another reason. And actually we do well to look at that reason as well as any menopausal fluctuations to get to the root of it. Because I know, I hear so many women who just have no idea that perimenopause is coming or when it might come. And then, they get a bit of brain fog and they think it's the first sign of dementia, and they don't dare say anything because they're scared. And it's just bonkers, isn't it? It might be stress. It might be hormones. There's all sorts of things that it could be.
Yeah.
But again, it's about listening, isn't it? Listening and being curious.
Yes. The morning that I got up, literally it crashed onto me overnight. And the morning I got up with complex PTSD, I literally did not know where I was. I had no short-term memory at all. And I was walking, I came down the stairs and my youngest daughter said, "Mum, what are you doing? What are you even doing?" And I'm like, I don't feel great. I don't feel good. And she said, "You're walking like a soldier from the First World War." I said, what are you talking about? And she showed me the video online of the soldiers with their jerky movement. I'd lost my movement and coordination. I'd lost my short-term memory. I would be stood in my house and then nothing. Okay, all right, well, I'm going to get a drink of water because it's always good to hydrate. And I would start again about 16 times a day with a glass of water. I never drank so much water. But at that point, I was having regular periods and they stopped. They stopped that day. And so my goal also became, I didn't accept that either. I was 51 and I knew that it was not normal for it to be gone overnight like that. I knew there'd been a very dramatic change to me and my body. And so my goal was to get my regular cycle back. And I still have I have my regular cycle now at 52. And I see my regular monthly cycle. To me, it's not a nuisance. I don't want it over. For me, it's a sign of my health and a sign of my mental health. I know short-term memory is linked to estrogen levels. So when estrogen levels drop, there can be some fuzzy thinking. And for me, I think it was total inactivity in the frontal lobes and a loss of estrogen from the extreme stress of the moment. Was what did that. But yes, it can be hormonal. It can be the food that you eat also. Just if you drive your blood sugar levels up and down during the day in a crazy way with coffee and carbs, then you are going to have short-term memory loss in midlife. And it isn't dementia. You can resolve that by choosing to eat so that your blood sugar level remains stable throughout the day. I always say, same with mood swings. Is it a mood swing or is it a food swing? Are you eating a steady stream of energy for your body through the day that doesn't spike blood sugar levels? Because if you're not, you're going to be hangry. So don't come to me and tell me it's perimenopause. You're hangry and you need to do something about that. So let's do all of this stuff first, and then we'll actually find out what symptoms of perimenopause you are experiencing.
So what other symptoms that are often attributed or blamed on perimenopause could be just something that we can easily fix with diet or lifestyle?
I think exhaustion. I think, I've got a long list. I think women that I meet in midlife who are like, I'm just exhausted, same like myself, exhausted and can't get off the sofa and can't work out. That is you needing to look at the food that you're feeding yourself and really go for nutrient dense food to support your thyroid gland and your adrenal glands. And I know many women who go for a test for the thyroid gland, they only test for one hormone. Certainly in Canada, the test is done on a bell curve for the province that you live in. I live in the middle of the prairies. We don't have access to sea fish or sea air or vegetables that have grown in a sea breeze with iodine on them. And so our bell curve is going to be shifted down compared to someone who lives in Vancouver or in Halifax or in Newfoundland. It's why is it a bell curve for your province? I don't understand that to start with. But so sluggishness is kind of accepted in the middle of the prairies. That's how we are. But we need to be eating more nutrient dense food to be supporting the thyroid gland, especially, which controls our circadian rhythm, our menstrual cycle, and now I've blanked. Our menstrual cycle, our circadian rhythm, and our metabolism. So again, weight gain in midlife. Support your thyroid gland and keep your metabolism at its absolute optimal. I believe that in many instances, weight gain around the middle during midlife is more to do with stress and a non-optimal state of metabolism than it is to do with, everyone in midlife is going to gain weight. Certainly for me, the experience I've had, because I began this journey much, much heavier, nearly 200 pounds. I have only lost weight during midlife. Between 46 and 52, I've lost weight. And then when I left my extremely stressful situation, I had the weight come off my middle. Cortisol drives weight to the middle of the body, our stress hormone. So that's something that we need to consider. Bone health, we need to be eating nutrient dense food for bone health. And rather than looking at calcium in dairy, we need to be looking at plant-based calcium that's more easily absorbed for us.
Where can we get plant-based calcium?
Cabbage, kale, sprouts, cos lettuce, all your leafy greens. And then if you really want to go hardcore, you can introduce like spirulina, chlorella into a smoothie, and then you're having very mineral dense foods. If you switch out eating potato chips for eating the Asian style seaweed snacks to get your crunchy and salty, extremely mineral dense foods packed with iodine and calcium and magnesium, and very cleansing for the gut. So just switch from, I know it's hard as a Brit, switch from walkers to seaweed snacks.
Walker to seaweed snacks. Yeah, that is a bit of a tall order for us Brits, isn't it?
Start looking at where the nutrition is.
So what are the most important lessons that you've learned from your retraining?
From my retraining, nutrition-wise, it's that calories don't count. You need to be looking at the quality of the food that you're putting into your body. Lifestyle-wise, it is, or personally, perhaps, it has been that I needed to love myself more and value myself more. I think as a woman, one of the most intimate acts that you have with yourself is 3 times daily putting food inside your mouth. It is an intimate act for a woman to put anything inside her body, and for us, we make choices 3 times a day about what we introduce into our bodies, and we need to look at eating in that way, and then we need to be fueling ourselves with the best food that we can afford and can prepare for ourselves. In regards to life, what I learned from going to nutrition school, it totally blew open my mind. I sat in the classroom on the first day and I was literally like, whoa, I do not fit in here with these young yoga teachers here. They came to be my best and dearest friends. I worked really hard to step out of being in the mother role with them. I was mindful of that. I wanted them as equals. But I was able to reinvent myself in the classroom. I was able to see opportunity for myself once I'd got this information and the skills. I had the advantage at that point. I was used to dealing with people all of my life. And so the idea of having a business, it just opened my mind to my own personal potential by educating myself. And from that point, I'm 52. I feel like my whole life has been blown open for me. I have so many options and so many choices about where I want to live, what I want to do, where I want to take my business. And I went from being in a relationship where I was entirely unseen and unnoticed to having received more love outside of that relationship, more attention in, I now do speaking, I work with other women, and I'm online. I was just recently, my second year at a conference in New York, working at the conference there. I travel. I feel like I'm more noticed and more out in the world at this age. I also can't relate to the, in midlife, no one sees you anymore thing. I guess I understand now I was never seen inside my relationship, and probably not really properly seen in, I don't know, as in a sexual way as a younger, desirable person. I managed to keep myself safe from that by choosing the wrong man. But now I feel like I'm stepping into all of that. My world has opened up for me to experience that at 52. So I think as soon as you change your perspective to what do I need to nourish myself, be it education, food, sleep, more pour the self-love on, kind words inside your head. What do I need? And then everything else in the outer world begins to be reflected back to you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Magnificent Midlife podcast. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, follow, and share it. Also, giving a 5-star review really helps get the word out. You'll find the show notes at magnificentmidlife.com. That's also where you can get my book, Magnificent Midlife, Transform Your Middle Years, Menopause, and Beyond. Make the very best of your next chapter. Help me change the world, one magnificent midlife woman at a time.